Hello. So, as pretty much everybody knows, because I can't stop talking about it, I finished reading the Narnia books. And while I am in no means anyone that actually does any sort of review, I thought I would go through all 7 of them and just kind of review them. I'm not going to go out on a limb and say that this is going to be a perfect review because it's me and I don't do anything like that. So yeah, the first book in the series is The Magician's Nephew. So for a few of them, I have it printed out kind of just to keep me on track. So I have main characters and the chapters, and then honestly just like a little bit of my review. I apologize if you see it and my print looks like this. I'm out of black ink, so this one's like a purpley. I like purple. So Magician's Nephew. The main characters, you have Diggory, Polly, Uncle Andrew, Jadis, the White Witch, Aslan, Strawberry - Fledge, and then I added King Frank and Queen Helen, even though we don't really see them too much, but like they're important people, so you know they get to stay in the main character section. So the chapters, there were 15. There's The Wrong Door, Diggory and his uncle, The Woods Between Worlds, The Bell and the Hammer, The Deplorable Word, The Beginning of Uncle Andrew's Troubles, What Happened at the Front Door, The Fight at the Lamppost, The Founding in Narnia, The First Joke and Other Matters, Diggory and his uncle are both in trouble, Strawberry's Adventure, An Unexpected Meeting, The Planting of the Tree, and the final chapter in this book is The End of the Story and the Beginning of All Others. I'm sorry if you hear any distractions, because Ivy's here. And she loves to beat up stuff. She just had her lunch. So, my review, bear with me, because again, I don't necessarily know how to do reviews for books. It's been a very long time since I've had to even write a book review. So I'm just kind of going to go through the plot, not exactly chapter by chapter, and just kind of give you my thoughts, and hopefully that's good enough. And yeah, so Diggory and Polly become friends, which I thought's cute. Honestly, I thought they were going to end up together in the very end of the book, because if you know anything about me, I like romance books, historical, and you know, 2 main characters, I kind of want them to end up together and other kids, but you know, we know when he's old, so you know, I did have a good idea of how he was going to turn out, because if you know anything about him, he becomes the professor later on, because this is the prequel to Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe and all the other books, so I did know what Diggory's life was going to turn out like, more or less, going into this one. Full disclosure, I did see spoilers and there were videos, so I do know a good chunk, because of Into the Wardrobe, I believe is the channel name, about 99% of these books, though there were plot points that even I missed out. So I was not ready to hate him as much as I did going forward, because, well, you know that he's responsible later on for doing something really bad in the Narnia universe, which we'll get there. So chapter 1 is basically the children just becoming friends, spending a lot of time together. Hey, let's go check out the abandoned house. And then they end up going to his house, just in the more or less forbidden attic. They kind of thought that they had, his Uncle Andrew might have had somebody locked up in there, and you know, I had concerns for these children. But they ended up going into the attic, where they meet his uncle again, and his uncle is just like the essence of creepy. I know that's what it's meant to be, but like, oh my goodness, this man. What is wrong with you, dude? Oh. This is what he looks like. Also, I missed a note, apparently. Tiffany borrowed this book. So, Uncle Andrew, very creepy. Intentional. So, if you don't know anything about him, we find out that Uncle Andrew is doing experiments. And he has these magic rings. And he's like, oh yeah, you know, I'm old. I can't go on adventures. But you guys are young. You could do it for me and tell me everything. And he tricks Polly into touching this magic ring. And when she touches it, she vanishes. She poofs. She's gone. Oopsie, she's no longer in the world. I don't necessarily blame her for being naive, because, like, you know, he's her friend's uncle. Yes, he's creepy, but he's offering me jewelry. It was a different time, you know. But, you know, you haven't interacted with this guy much. Stranger danger, even though he's family, would have said, hey, yeah, don't take the jewelry from a random stranger. But now she touches it, and woo, she's gone. I did know about the rings going into it, so I knew as soon as she touched it, hey, the story's at least gonna get somewhere. Uncle Andrew and Diggory, they kind of have an argument. Hey, yeah, you did a crap thing. Well, you should go get her. I really don't want to, but I'm not gonna go, so you're just gonna leave her there? So, yeah, back and forth. He eventually goes after her, and he takes the return ring with him, so she can actually, you know, get home. Which leads us to the woods between worlds, which is, I wouldn't want to say like limbo, but it's a very weird place. It's got a lot of ponds everywhere, and it's very peaceful, kind of greeny, and honestly, whenever they're like, oh, well, you know, it's so peaceful, I could just go to sleep. I'm like, okay, well, I know there's a lot left in this book, but child's gonna die or something. I don't know. Thankfully, that wasn't the case. But they didn't go home immediately. They didn't go back into the pond that they came out of. No, he wants to go explore. I don't know, plot's got a plot. But, like, you know, jumping into a different world, unprepared, wasn't the best move, dude. So they do it, and then that ends up them going to where Queen Jadis is. We all know that she becomes the White Witch. I just assumed that she was a stand-in for the devil. She still probably is, but I just kind of thought that she lived there, that she was always there. Let's find out that, hey, yeah, no, she's actually from Charn, and the world's destroyed, and the only other person that's alive there is her, but she's kind of like the statue. I'm like questioning exactly my mind and where I thought this went. I don't know. But they get there, it's a destroyed world, nothing's moving, it's a dying sun, and they just explore until they find where she is, and that is where we get the Bell and the Hammer. So that's another time that I wanted to throw down with a small child, because I know that the White Witch is going to be a problem, especially to the Pevensies. So whenever he hits that bell and wakes her up against Polly's wishes, she wanted to go home. He should have listened to that child. But no, now the White Witch is awake, and, well, trouble. Lots and lots of trouble. She explains that, hey, yeah, I know the secret word that destroyed everything just because my sister and I got into a fight. And it lasted a very long time. There was more of you? I don't think we could have handled more of you, girl. You're already a menace. But whenever they try to escape back to that woods, she tags along. And well, she should have stayed in that woods because then she might have died. But no, whenever they go back to our world, she joins them too. And Uncle Andrew is like smitten, man. He's instantly in love. Which, you know, good for him. You know, you two would be a good couple. Outside of the fact that I love the fact that she hated him. That was great. You know who else was great? Aunt Letty. Aunt Letty was amazing. Whenever I came across that part and she just insulted Jadis, I sent Tiffany a picture of that part. And I'm like, girl, you're gonna love her. I didn't think she was gonna read the books at that time, but you know what? Yeah, she's gonna love her. Oh my goodness. I've lost my train of thought. That's why I have these. That's why I have them here. So, this is when Diggory and Polly split up, which, in my opinion, I didn't know necessarily why that would have been a good thing. Because, you know, you got the witch on the loose. I know they're terrified, but, like, you know, going home for supper, anytime they broke for food, I know it was for immersion, but, like, you know, maybe when the witch is on the loose, you don't get food. Maybe you deal with the problem that you brought with you. The uncle, still smitten for some reason, decides, let's take her on the town. I wish we would have seen more of it. I know we do get to see the Battle at the Lamppost, which is chapter 8. I don't know why I said battle, it's called The Fight. But I did find it interesting that that's how she got a hold of the lamppost. You know, that's how it's ended up in Narnia. That always felt out of place. But it's a mythical world. Magic, who knows? They could have a random lamppost for no absolute backstory reason, but she broke off a piece of it in our world and had it with her when they all went back to the world, the wood between worlds, and ended up in Narnia. Not gonna lie, as soon as chapter 9 rolled around, everything started to get better. That's because that's when we actually see Aslan appear. More or less. He starts to sing the universe into existence, and I'm a very visual reader. Tiffany said that the only time that she could get some sort of like visual is whenever she heard Aslan, because, you know, Liam Neeson, that's a very, very predictable voice. You can hear that in your head. But I could see it happening and I teared up, I'm not gonna lie. So he sings the Narnia into existence. Jadis and Uncle Andrew, they're not having it. The cabbie and his horse Strawberry, they're into it. They're very interested in what's going on. Like the children, obviously they're the good guys. They're gonna be interested. But whenever Jadis throws that piece of the lamppost at him, trying to just kill him, because, you know, she's really strong. It's a lion. It should be easy. And it bounces off of him, and she runs away scared. He's unfazed. I laughed. It served her right. I don't even know why she bothered to go to war with him later, but, you know. Once everything was made, everything, you know, the animals, they had their first joke and all of that, and Diggory finally gets to talk to Aslan, and he's like, oh yeah, can you help my mom? Because this whole time his mom is more than likely getting ready to die. She's very sick. He doesn't necessarily agree. He just sends them off on a quest because, you know, he needs to stop the evil or Nevil that entered the world, which is the White Witch. Because, you know, the world's not even a day old and evil's here. So you're like, you know, we're gonna have to fix that. And it's the kid's fault. Fully blaming that child. So they go off with Fledge, which was Strawberry, turned into a flying horse, like in the book cover. We have the cabbie, who's now King Frank, and his wife, who was just hanging out doing chores and is instantly called into Narnia, which personally I liked that touch, because at any given moment we could be called before the Lord, called before God, so we could be doing our daily chores and whoop, whoop, well, no, now we're here. So I did like that touch. So they become the first king and queen of Narnia. I had always been under the impression that it was the Pevensies. I don't know who would have run the country before then. I guess in my head, I just always thought it was the White Witch, but then, you know, that wouldn't have made much sense. But, you know, that was just another backstory piece that I quite found interesting. They go on a journey. Honestly, journey parts like that kind of bore me. I don't know why. But they go on it. They get to the garden where they have this apple tree that he's supposed to grab the apple, bring it home, and all is good. But the part about that is you have to go through the door. You can't go up over the wall. You can't go under it. You gotta go through the door. You must come in through the door. So only he can do that at this moment in time. Diggory is the only person that can do it. Polly is just basically there for, I don't know, emotional support. And they need Strawberry dash Fledge. So, you know, they can get there in time. But as they're getting there, guess who's there? The witch. Yep. Jadis is back. And she doesn't go through the door. She goes over the wall. Takes an apple, eats it, and becomes, well, even meaner. Does she need to be more meaner? I don't know. But she tries to get him to have the apple. Does that sound familiar? If anybody knows Bible stories. But he doesn't eat it, unlike Eve. Really want to have a talk with Eve. But he doesn't. He actually listens and he takes it home. He takes it back to Aslan. Aslan uses it, makes the tree that protects them. And he is allowed to take an apple home with him to help his mom. And he basically buries the remains of the apple once she's healed. And that becomes the massive tree that is still connected to Narnia, because you can see, like, when the Narnian wind moves that tree, even if there's no wind in our world, it moves, and it's a nice tree. It's connected. So whenever the tree eventually falls and he turns it into the wardrobe, that makes sense. I didn't know where that came from, because, you know, well, how does it, especially in the movie version, have these pictures of, you know, Aslan, the White Witch, and yeah, personally, I would give it 4 out of 5 stars. I don't really have too much to critique about it. Would I read it in the future again? Probably. But I don't know for sure. I would have liked to have seen more chaos in our world whenever, you know, Jadis was just wreaking havoc. We got little references of it. I would have liked a lot less Andrew. Maybe a little bit more Aunt Lady. Aunt Lady was great. Should have let Polly, you know, drag him away, because, you know, some things would have been avoided. But, you know, plot's got a plot. And, well, we already had Lion, Witch, and Wardrobe. So, you know, plot had to plot. And, yeah, that is... terribly sorry. I was pretty much just wrapping up that was pretty much it. But then my battery died. So, would read again. 4 out of 5 stars. Aunt Letty is awesome. Uncle Andrew sucks. And I liked that they gave the professor some more backstory, because if you watch the movies, and, you know, he seemed a bit sus. He seemed like he knew. He was a little bit sus in the book as well, but, you know, the movie pretty much was like, hey, yeah, you've been there? Same, you ain't get back in that way, but, you know, it's cool. So, yeah, no, I did like the book. Would probably read again. And I gotta go change my battery. Anyone shocked? I'm not.